Hello, and welcome to another episode of Product and Cake. Today, in the virtual recording studio, is with me Paul. How you doing, Paul?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so happy to close the windows in the morning, so it's still chilled inside.
I
And I'm so happy talking to you. How are you, Gonche?
Yeah, same. I'm also good. I'm happy that the weather is getting a little bit cooler, but I'm sad that summer is over and then night is gonna be longer, the day is gonna be shorter. So, yeah,
Mm,
mixed feelings. It's a time of the year that I have mixed feelings.
true, true. But I'm also looking forward because I love to work inside when it is dark outside.
Ooh.
That gives you this focus mode and cozy feeling.
Cozy feeling. Yeah, that's true. But also, it gets dark here very fast. Like in
True.
the winter, it gets dark at 4, and it feels already like night.
That is true. And all that is connected to also to our awesome check-in question today, because you should ever start your meetings, especially with people you are not seeing every day, but also with them, with a good chosen check-in question. And today, Goncha, I want to ask you, what's the most amazing thing you've seen in nature?
Ooh. Oh, there are so many nice things. I have two answers. One is my dog.
Of course, yeah.
He's amazing. He's super cute, and he technically is part of nature. And the other thing is I've seen Northern Lights,
Ooh,
and until I've seen them actually recently, because it was my second time seeing them, I didn't believe what I could see. Like it was magical. It was much better than what I expected. Even
awesome.
though it was not my first time seeing them,
Cool.
this one was amazing. Yeah.
I remember we may had a recording shortly after your vacation, and in our pre-talk, I saw the light in your eyes.
Yeah, it was so good. I totally recommend it.
Nice.
How about you?
Yeah, mine is compared with that one very, very small, because the most amazing thing I saw recently is my most loved flower, and that is the black-eyed Susan,
I need
in
to.
German, die schwarzäugige Susanne. And the recent years I bought from time to time one, but was pretty expensive, like 15 to 30 euros a pot. And this year, very late, but still, I grew my own flowers.
Oh,
So
nice.
I bought the seeds very, very cheap, and then I planted 20 schwarzäugige Susannen. And then when I saw the first time a small, tiny green dot inside this black earth, that was fantastic. And now, a little
Oh,
bit too late in the year, unfortunately, but now they start to show their flowers, and I have so many now.
that's so nice. That's so nice.
And next year I will start already in January, and I will give that as a gift to all my friends. So if
Oh,
we see
that's
us,
so
then
lovely.
you can also get one. That's the
Nice. Thank you.
best flower I know.
They're really cute. Yeah.
Cool, yeah. And the flower, as described, right, is growing from super, super tiny, or even before that, from a seed to a tiny, tiny plant, and then growing, and now climbing across all possibilities here in my balcony. So, does that remind you on something we may want to talk about today?
It was a great transition as always. It reminds me of a product life cycle.
Oh, yes. Nice picture.
Yeah, it was really good. Also, when you mentioned that you had to start at a certain time of the year, so it blossoms at the correct time, because also timing is quite important
Yeah.
in the product life cycle.
Definitely. And today in this episode, we want to give you a really short, ideally a short overview about the different stages of product development. So we want to touch the idea, the MVP phase, maybe there's a one or the other good name for that one, the launch, the growth, maturity, and the decline of a product also. And maybe we find some moments in the end, because that is a topic that is also moving me at the moment, is how important is the product market fit?
Mhm.
So, Ghonche, what comes to your mind if we are talking about the product idea, this beautiful, very, very first stage? Do you like that?
Of course, I love all product stages. Even the sunsetting. Actually, I think sunsetting is my favorite one. But the idea is basically the stage that everything is still very immature, is very not thought through. It's very here and there, and you cannot necessarily approach any customers with it. You cannot start monetizing it. Also, it is the stage that most startups stay at.
Yeah,
So
true.
there are so many startups that just, or people who want to start a startup that just have a great idea and it's an amazing idea, but they never take the first step to turn that idea that they may have played around with it to turn it into an actual MVP.
Yeah.
And the same way that we see a lot of one episode or two episodes podcast out there, because it was a great idea, great podcast, but it didn't go to the MVP stage and became a real thing.
And that is for me one of the most important things. I will never be tired to repeat, because the idea is nothing special, right? In 99% of cases, the idea is just a product of the current zeitgeist, right? The ideas are flying around. Plenty of people have them. Plenty of people try to do something with that idea. And what really counts is how dedicated to that idea are you? How often do you talk about the idea, and how are you able to convince other people to help you to make that idea become an MVP, basically?
Exactly. Also, it's one of the key moments in the life cycle of the product, because it's a moment that the team is getting formed. Is the key people coming together to start building an MVP, to start building something. And it's the same time that people are most insecure about sharing their idea, because
Right.
they feel that, oh, it's $1 million idea. If I share it with someone, they might steal it. And as exactly as you said, Paul, like there are so many of us have very similar ideas that comes to us, uh, but we don't necessarily do something with it, or it's not necessarily if we do something with it, but how we do something with that idea is what matters. We
Yeah.
are not at the age that the first idea and the first to market is the winner anymore.
No, it is even the best thing that can happen is you pitch your idea to someone and they say, "Hey, I know something that is super similar," or "I heard about exactly that thing. Here's the link." And then you have a blueprint. You can study, you can see what they did, and you can also evaluate based on traffic and based on traction of that other competitor. How should you improve your idea, or what is maybe a low hanging fruit to make your own idea better? And you should not never underestimate. I tried it for several years to convince investors of totally new ideas nobody saw before. The answer is, in most of the times, yeah, if I never heard about that idea before, maybe that is because the idea is not working at all. So most of the investors want to see, okay, it is more or less a copy of that idea, or it is inspired by that idea. And then you put your secret source, your hidden, your unfair advantage to it to make it even better. And then in the
Exactly.
end, the ones who doing similar things are your exit case, maybe, or will be your partner in the end, or you can take them over later on.
Exactly. So, competition in the market is not designed to stop working on the idea, but rather a validation that, oh, there is a need here and I can join this market.
Yeah, and I know the feeling very, very well, that it is so hard and frustrating if you put all your energy into this perfect first page or this pitch deck, or you really nailed down the business model, canvas, whatever, and then you find out, okay, there's a competitor out there. They did it already since 5 years. They get plenty of millions of fundings. They have a team of 100 people, and everything looks so perfect on their website, and they do everything you are dreaming about. That should never stop you, because you should never judge a product based on its marketing material. Maybe they had one intern who is great in storytelling and they built the very best website. That has nothing to do with the final product, and it has nothing to do with the people behind it. And this is what you just mentioned, Ghonche, the team. You find the people to work with you on the idea. And if you are not falling in love with the solution, but falling in love with the problem of your future customers,
Exactly.
then you are on a very good track. And then you can make a big step forward into the MVP phase. So, how would you divide between the idea and the MVP? How do I recognize that I reached an MVP now, or that I should reach an MVP? And what is an MVP at all?
Yeah, so I think it's fair to start with saying what is an MVP. So MVP, short for minimum viable product, is exactly as it is in the name. So it needs to be viable. It needs to at least solve the problem that you want to solve, not necessarily in the final way that you want to solve it, but it needs to go to the same direction of solving that problem. So there are many different ways of doing an MVP. Do we have actually an episode planned for talking about an MVP? I want to know how much in detail should I go, because talking about MVP is one of my favorite topics.
No, we have a in chapter 3, episode 3, we have a complete episode about the minimum viable product. So please only touch the very basics.
Okay, great. So the way that I like to explain what is an MVP is, imagine you believe in God, or you believe it not necessarily in God.
Or in nature, whatever.
Nature, yeah. And the MVP of nature, the MVP of humans, was a one-celled organism.
Nice.
Didn't necessarily, yeah, it was the first thing. It worked, and then, oh, we can develop more.
We
Let's
can
add,
really.
let's let's add another cell to it. It's basically the whole life cycle that it goes through, a lot of trial and error. It goes through a lot of iterations until we are here. So it starts with one cell organism, solve the problem that, oh, can life exist on Earth? And yeah, we see it did, and then the next iteration. Um, there are many different versions that you can do an MVP, but what is it? The purpose of it is the most important thing. So first thing is accelerates the learning. It reduces waste. It is the base for other products. It is, um, you can get the product as early as possible to your customers and to ask them to try it. And I think we can maybe share some examples of an MVP, because it can be as simple as a video, and then you can see how much interest you get. So the goal of the MVP is to understand how it is working. If you have understood the problem, if you have understood the solution that can potentially solve that problem, and how does the market react to that. It is not in any shape or form close to a final product market fit, but it is exactly also the MVP of the product market fit. That, oh yeah, we actually found this area that bloop, everything that we want to do fits here. Like, one example that I actually really like is from Dropbox. They had a video. They had a 90-second animation that explained Dropbox, and with that was their MVP. And with the result of that, they went to the investors.
Nice. Yeah, cool. Most likely not only to the investors, but also to potential customers and get some
Exactly.
early feedback. And it depends very much on your product or on your idea in general, how the MVP will look like. chances are good that you have maybe a tech founder. Hopefully, you have a tech founder within your team, and this person will maybe then go to the basement and start saying, "Hey, I will now go into development mode, and I will really code all day, and I will help me, and I will do the very best MVP." And this is a big warning sign, because you don't want to have the very best MVP, right? You want to have the minimal viable product, minimal.
Yeah,
And two important things you need to tell every tech colleague that is close to you: this MVP will never scale. No one should solve scaling issues in the MVP phase. That
exactly.
is much too early. You can run it on PHP in your very old FTP machine at all Inkle, for example. That is absolutely no problem. Use the tools you have to solve the problem. And the second thing is, make every day absolutely sure that you don't reinvent the wheel. If
Yeah,
you need, for what reason ever, a content management system, you don't build your own one. You also don't build your own newsletter system. You don't build authentication. Also, video call capabilities. Nothing of that is the key, the heart, the soul of your idea. You need to identify this thing and make absolutely clear that you make use of all the great services, headless services we have nowadays, ready to be plugged in and already do much more than you need.
exactly. And this whole life cycle that we're talking about is both true when we are looking at a very small scale of even a button, of even a smallest feature, and very large scale of a huge company. So all of this stands true for it as well. And also, I like, Paul, that you said that the engineering power should not be used for making an MVP scalable. And that's why I really love MVPs, because one of also another type of my MVP methods that you can use is called a concierge MVP.
Hmm.
So basically, what you do is that instead of actually building any product using any code, you provide the exact same service manually.
Yeah,
So, for example, you want to start a business that delivers food to people from the restaurant that they order. You can create menus, like manual menus, and send it to people, and they will call you, or they will go to an call you, and then you go personally picked up the food and deliver it to people.
yeah.
So there are a lot of ways that you can do MVP that doesn't need development, which we will get into detail in a later episode.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that episode. A lot of things to talk about here,
Yeah.
but let us try to cover also the other four stages of a
Yes.
product life cycle that is ahead of us. So I got a lot of traction in my MVP, even more that I can handle. I had to shut it down again because it got too much attention. So I need to prepare now for the launch. What are your thoughts about that phase?
Ooh. So it's first thing is uh, avoid go fever. So when you have a product that is working as an MVP and you want to finally do a big bang and like create a amazing buzz and launch your product, there is something called go fever, that because you have set a date that you need to do whatever it takes to reach that date, that might really break the whole launch thing, because there might be an issue that you might not have seen. There might be a lot of mistakes that people make when in rush. So uh, first thing is calm everything and make sure that you approach any launch of any product as pragmatic as possible. um, for now, my in my team, we avoid launching any products during close to a holiday or close to a weekend, because we know if something goes wrong, we don't have any backup plan. So one thing I do really like to do is create a launch plan. This makes it clear what is our fail safe, what if something goes wrong, what is our main action points, who are the people to get contacted. So as firefighters, who are the firefighters on call for this launch? And no matter how big or small the launch is, we have some sort of this, like either it's actually a huge document with a lot of information, or it's just one line of information in the Jira ticket. And Um, Also, like, what is the plan for the launch? Is it just one shootout and it's done, or is it uh, bit by bit, and like first we will launch to like 5 users, then 10, then 20, then we release it to all of the users? So there are these kind of questions that need to be answered before you launch, so you prepare everyone, your whole team, and the stakeholders for the launch.
And I really, yeah, I totally agree with that. And I really want to underline that you need to avoid by any chance to put some artificial pressure,
Yeah.
right? As you described, saying, hey, the 15th of September is our launch date. Everything needs to be ready. And now you need to work overnight and over the weekends and put everything into, and then we have the launch date and then we are done. Yes, this is the point where we made it, because this is never ever true. And you
Yeah.
want to have a team that is capable to put hard work in your product after the launch, because ideally you get a lot of traction, and with that traction you will realize that you made a lot of mistakes, and that is totally fine. But you should never ever had your team burned at that stage, right? If all your senior engineers go to vacation for 2 weeks after that launch date, then no one is there to fix the urgent issues. So I would put all the focus on being super careful in where and how to steer the pressure, and then invest into a build pipeline that is super fast and release super often, right? Maybe it's a difference, and we need to tackle that topic too in a later episode, between big corporates and startups. But
Yeah.
in the startup world, or if you can afford it in a big corporate, try to be as fast as possible in launching to production, because that gives you the chance to react quickly and to make the changes. And this is the beauty of our tech products. It is not like printing a newspaper and then it is out, or producing the car and then it is go and will never come back ideally. No, it's an ongoing topic, and it is more a marathon. And the launch is maybe the first quarter of
Yeah.
the full product life cycle. It's not an end where you can relax afterwards.
And launch should be a continuous thing. So we should have continuous deployment.
Yeah.
That every day is a launch date.
Right. So what we at XU are doing currently, we totally decoupled the launching of new clients in our learning platform from us as product tech team,
Hmm.
right? We just, I mean, we get informed obviously, and we make that transparent, but we don't plan our releases based on the launch of new clients,
Hmm.
because we building a platform that is just able to launch new clients every
Exactly.
day, and we don't want to be the bottleneck and for creating business value there.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that, we get to a growth phase. And Paul, how do you like that phase?
Yeah, the growth phase is interesting. That is maybe the mid part of the marathon then,
Yeah.
um, because you will be confronted with a lot of different requirements, with a lot of unforeseen issues that were really not anticipated. And my personal issue from time to time is that I'm sitting there, look at the numbers, I see the traction, everyone is super happy, they are using the product, and I'm sitting in front of it and I'm thinking, oh damn it, it is full of errors. All the things that happened are so obvious, and we were so stupid to not take that one into consideration upfront. But that is very very unfair, and I learned that I need to stop that thinking, because it's not helping, and you have a totally different view on your own product if you look at it every day for 8 to 10 hours than someone who's stepping by, clicking around, and like the experience, right? And even though you are thinking, oh damn it, they are missing tons of features, you are in the growth phase, you have the time and the resources to develop and to work on that features, and that is beautiful. And you should always look forward and sit together with your product managers to identify the reach and the impact of the improvements ahead of you in the roadmap.
Exactly. Yeah. And the growth case as also it says it's an opportunity for learning. So doing A/B tests,
Right.
understanding the user needs better, reaching out to users, asking for feedback.
Yeah, and pull in people who are really on data, right? I
Yeah,
met so many teams that doing A/B test with 20 users, and you need to know that 20 users are not significant, right? There are calculators that show you how many users you need to have until it becomes significant. So make educated guesses and then be super happy about the reach and still look forward. There are so many more people ahead of you than people that are using your product already. And as the stage is saying, you want to grow. So you should focus on that initiatives.
exactly. Then we get to maturity.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Well, at this point, the product is a little bit more established, potentially. So again, it depends on which size are we talking about. If it's a feature, or if it's a part of the product, if it's a business line in the company, or if it is the whole company. Because as I said, in all of these cases, it's different. If it's a whole company, probably you are either a thought leader into that in that segment, or you there are other companies that are looking up to you, learning from what you've done, um, or there are a lot of traction that your company gets at. But if we get a little bit deeper, if it's into a business line, the business line is working as expected, everything is business as usual. Of course, there are challenges here and there, but it is not the same as the growth case. And this is a time that you need to think about either you want to exit this process at this point, or you want to add additional things to the same business line. You want to merge it with another business line. You want to, what are the, again, how can you give another boost to it?
Yeah. And I really want to put a word here for all the engineers working on the maturity products. They need to find time to analyze the technical depth, right? You
Exactly.
did so many emergency fixes on the path to reach that point, or also basically the technology just evolved so much. So it is very, very wise if you can afford it. Put time, give the engineering team time to reduce the technical debt, but also reduce the product debt, right?
Exactly.
So many things where we get just used to, and now we see it as the only truth. It is so worth to to revisit and to check if it is still the way we thought initially, and yeah, give the team time to sort out things, because that will motivate them a lot to be much faster next time, because you need to make your promise true that the time will come where they can clean up things, right? Because
Exactly.
most of the engineers, they want to live in a super structured and well made world. They are not big fans. Okay, everyone is different, obviously, but ideally you have some people in your team that really want to structure and clean out everything, and they need to get time. And if they get it next time, you can make a deal with them and say, okay, let's move fast, super fast forward right now, and we will have that phase where uh, we will have time for
See now.
stabilization.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then after that, we get to the sunset phase.
Right. Yeah, a phase that is not very common from from my experience.
Yeah, or the decline phase. So it can happen in multiple ways. Again, we need to talk about stages. So if you're talking about the company stage, it can take a look into exiting. It can be potentially either approaching something differently. I will give some examples here, but it can be either exiting into being bought by another company. It can be IPO. It can be some options that also the investors get their investment back, or it can be revamping something else out of the same business. It can be adding additional arms and legs to the business. So as an example, we like Nokia as a mobile phone at some point was the peak, the maturity, went through all of these phases, and then at some point another uh, fast-paced company came in and took the market share. So in this scenario, Nokia as a company had the decline phase very visibly until recently. Again, they did additional things to bump up. again the product, so it comes back again from the decline phase. But this again goes through all of those processes, goes again from the idea to the MVP, then to the launch, to the growth, maturity, and again. So if you don't pump up things inside the business, inside of product, inside the even feature, it will go through a decline phase at some point, or it will go through an exit phase. Another example here is Google. So Google initially, when it started, first it was just a simple page with just a search bar, and now we have everything. You can buy flights through Google. You can talk to your Google Home. It controls everything in your apartment.
You can
Uh,
give Google all your data
yeah,
easily.
you can do everything to give Google all of your data. And they added a lot of arms and legs to the business. Um, and this is the same case for a business line at a company, the same case for a feature. So, uh, as an example, you build a feature like 2 years ago, it went through all of the phases. And if you don't either try to find new ways for users to use this feature, it will go through a decline. So if either you use an old technology and in 2 years' time it is completely outdated, the same information that you provided to the user is not relevant anymore because there are newer models that they can use. So unless you don't add additional value to it, it will go through a normal decline. And all of those additional value that you need to add to it constantly are each have their own mini life cycles.
True. Yeah, very, very true. One thing I would like to add here is if we are talking about a feature or a new business or a new leg you want to grow, then you need to take care in this decline period, in this decline stage, and recognize it,
Yeah,
because it is so common that all the people that were just a few months or years ago so excited and they worked so hard to make that become reality, they are all already on another super exciting project, right? And they are back in the MVP or launch phase, and no one is looking back. And especially if you have to maintain multiple features within one product and you have multiple overlapping product life cycles, you need to spend some time in accepting, okay, this feature was not working as expected. We give ourselves time to remove it from our code base. That is one of the biggest security issues you have. Unmaintained features that lay around somewhere. People are leaving, other people come in and say, oh, I will never touch that code because I don't know what it is doing and I have no time to dig into. So as long as you have the people and the knowledge and the remembering, the collective remembering in the company, give the team time to sunset the feature, to put it into a next level, to start the cycle again, or to just stop it and perform a beautiful funeral, right? You can really do a funeral for your product, have some nice get together, think about some rituals you want to do with the team and celebrate that everyone worked, even though it is maybe not the next Google, but everyone learned, and that is the most important thing.
exactly. And you might have created the greatest feature and it got all the users 2 years ago, and then you built so many other features and that feature is not used by any user anymore. So you need to look back, oh, actually, is that feature still running? Who's using it? Why is it still being used still? So all of these things can help validate, okay, it's in the sunset phase. It is better to say goodbye to a feature that is not being used.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense to define that sunset phase in the beginning when everyone is optimistic and super happy, to give yourself a deadline, a few numbers, a few KPIs to look at, to identify, okay, we are reaching the sunset phase now. And that's
Exactly.
fine. Nothing to be sorry about it.
Yeah.
Wow, that was so exciting. I am very, very sure that we have so many more things we would like to add. And also we planned a lot of more episodes. So I would say the what it means to reach the product market fit is the content of our next episode.
Yes, that will stay for the next time. I just want to add something
Yeah.
that one of my go-to questions in the interviews for the PMs is that I will ask them to what is their favorite product that they've ever used,
Mm-hmm.
and then ask them why. Okay, what's happening, and then I will ask them what are three features. Imagine you're the product manager of this company. What are three features that you will add? And then I will ask them what are the three features that you would remove from this.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that is a really good sense for me. If someone says that, oh no, I will not remove anything, this is perfect the way it is, then like, you need to maybe,
Learn more.
yeah, listen to our podcast.
Subscribe and recommend this podcast to everyone you know who will answer this in the interview, because there's much more to come. Nice question. Thank you for sharing, Ghonche.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.